The champions are here, and it's no coincidence that the game is named after them. These new heroes, along with Ms. Marvel, are now, in this humble content creator's opinion, the best team to be in Marvel Champions. That's right, better than Asgard, better than the Guardians, better than the Web Warriors, even better than the Avengers. In my opinion, if you're going to be a hero in this game, you're better off being a champion than anything else. What makes me say this? What even determines how good a particular trait is? It basically comes down to two things. How good are the heroes, and how good are the deck building options that support those heroes? When we look at the various teams in Marvel Champions, what do we see? First off was the Avengers, and there's no denying they're great, mostly. From Ant-Man to Wasp, the Avenger team is filled with interesting, varied, and incredibly fun heroes to play. They also have arguably the two strongest heroes in the game in Captain Marvel and Doctor Strange. If this argument was based on the quality of the heroes only, the Avengers would probably win with sheer numbers alone. But if we're talking about building an Avengers deck, you better like blue because their deck building options are pretty slim outside of leadership. Mighty Avengers, Inspiring Presence, Avengers Assemble, Quinjet, United We Stand, All for One, Power Gloves, and Sky Cycle are all trait locked to the Avengers, but there isn't a single card in the other three aspects that requires you to be an Avenger to play it. There are a couple basic cards like Avengers Tower and Earth's Mightiest Heroes you can splash in your other decks, but it's not going to make you feel like you're assembling the team. Same goes for their allies. Blue has a ton, while the other aspects again are somewhat limited. So you can build a really cool Avengers deck, but it'll be as blue as the sky over Avengers Tower. Next up, I mentioned Asgard because they do have some support, but they have the same problem as Avengers as far as building a tribal deck, only theirs runs red with the blood of their enemies. Thor and Valkyrie can play pretty well in any aspect, but if you want to get themey with it, it's going to need to be aggression. Thankfully, their support cards are neutral in Godlike Stamina and the Bifrost, but if you reasonably expect to get any value out of the Bifrost, it's going to be in a red deck. And depending on which of the two Asgard heroes we currently have in the game, you won't even be able to play one of those allies. There are a couple other Asgard allies in the game, but nothing to build a deck around. Hopefully we do get some more Asgard heroes in the future, like maybe Loki or Beta Ray Bill, but for now, all Asgard decks are going to look the same. It wasn't until the Guardians of the Galaxy that we finally started to see multi-aspect support for building a tribal deck. Not only did they give them two very nice gray supports that anyone can use, the designers took the allies in a very different direction and made a lot of them basic as well, so they can be played in any Guardian deck irrespective of your color preferences. And most of the heroes don't even have a conflicting signature ally, so you really have a lot of great deck building choices. And in addition to all the main crew members of the Milano being basic, every aspect got at least a little love. This was great news for the deck builders of the Galaxy because the Guardians heroes are pretty much all fantastic and fun to build in all the aspects. They knew we were going to want to have a large assortment of morons in all of our Guardians decks, and you can definitely have that. And the widespread support doesn't stop with the allies. They gave the Guardians one card all of their own in each aspect to help drive the point even further that these aren't your Earthbound Fathers heroes. Think Fast and Shake It Off are essential cards to play if you're guarding the Galaxy in Justice or Protection. Aggression got a very stabby stick to attach to Guardians' allies in the Energy Spear. And Blue gets Welcome Aboard, which serves as a double resource to help pay for all those 3-cost allies. Until recently, I would have said the Guardians were the best place to look if you wanted to throw theme into your game time, and they remain in my mind a very close second. The next tribe that we saw getting support were the Web Warriors. Sinister Motives brought us Miles and Gwen, and we know the Silly Pig and Dr. Suit are on the way. These heroes have web swung into the game with a really strong start, and the future looks bright. We can only speak to what we know for sure so far, and what we know is Miles and Gwen are both fantastic heroes, and the Web Warriors have some very interesting cards to play around with. But one of my criteria here is the ability to play well in all aspects, and for now it seems the Spiderheads are leaning pretty heavily into Protection and Justice. Most of the allies we've seen so far are in green, and we have 2 allies in Justice as well. None of the Web Warriors have come with Leadership or Aggression decks, so we don't know for sure if we're even going to see any allies in those aspects. Fortunately, we do have plenty of basic cards to build our Spider decks around, including one of my favorite new cards in the whole game, Peter Parker Spider-Man. But with the way the Web Warriors got mixed in with the champions in the release schedule, we got 2 Justice Webheads and 2 Protection Webheads, so we might not see support for the other aspects for a while to come. And now we come to the star of the show. The reason for this video, the best team in the whole game, and my new favorite way to play. The champs are here. So what makes the champions so amazing? Well, if we go back to our criteria for determining this, first we have to look at the heroes. And for my money, all 4 Champions heroes are top shelf in both power level and fun factor. Miles Morales passes out stuns and confuses like they were web-covered candy, and can dish out damage incredibly quickly. Ironheart's minigame of collecting progress counters while simultaneously managing the board is amazingly fun. And when she gets to her 3rd level, which you can do surprisingly quickly, she absolutely decimates the villain with her impressive stat line and ability to fire 2 damage rockets wherever she pleases. Nova's lightning-fast economy that starts the game on the table with his helmet means you're always going to have the resources you want when you need them, and when he unleashes the Nova Force, it is truly a thing to behold. And let us not forget that there's been a fan-favorite champion in the game since the early days in Ms. Marvel. We've been enjoying stretching every ounce of value out of attack, thwart, and defense events since shortly after the game's release. Yes, in my opinion, every single champion hero is absolutely stellar. So Box 1 is checked, and Box 2 is equally stacked. With just the simultaneous releases of Nova and Ironheart, the champions got everything they needed to build amazingly consistent and powerful decks. Just 3 basic cards that every single one of them can put to great use in every deck they build. I'm talking, of course, about Go for Champions, Champions Mobile Bunker, and Moon Girl. Go for Champions is just about the most nutso bonkers card ever printed for this game. Being able to completely ignore damage for an entire round is off the charts powerful. Use all of your allies for an extra turn since they don't take consequential damage. Pretend the villain and all of the minions don't even exist. In fact, you're hoping the villain gets extra attacks in the encounter phase so you can watch them bounce off your impenetrable wall of awesome. And let us not forget it affects every single champion's character on the table. It's worth it in a solo game. It's insane in 4 players. Next up is the Mobile Bunker. This one might not be as flashy as Go for Champions, but make no mistake, this card will do wonders for your consistency and efficiency. The power this card offers you every turn is the power of choice. Versatility is the key to consistently winning against all the different challenges the various villains in this game throw at you, having the right cards at the right time. This card allows you to get 2 cards closer to the ones you need right now, at the low cost of discarding 2 cards you weren't going to play anyways. Not to mention it gets you back around to your key cards that much more quickly. An early Mobile Bunker guarantees you're going to set up at lightning speed, and all but guarantees a victory. And last, but certainly not in the least bit least, is the incomparable Moon Girl, or as I like to call her, Nick Fury 2.0. After all, she comes into play, and if you pay for her with all mental resources, she draws you 3 cards, she attacks or thwarts for 2, and then she takes a hit for you. Just like Nick. We all know how great Nick is. I still use him in a lot of my decks. She turns every mental resource in your hand into a potential card draw. Now, I will admit she is less consistently powerful as the previous 2 entries, as you might not always have mental resources in your hand you want to use to pay for her. But even if you only get 1 or 2 cards back, she's still a very efficient and powerful ally that can go in every single champion's deck forever. Speaking of allies, the champions have a number of other interesting choices besides Moon Girl. Staying in basic, we have Vivian and Snowguard. Vivian is a great choice for being a 2-cost basic ally alone, and her ability to blank a card in play can be situationally amazing. She could allow you to ignore the guard that just popped out to ruin your big damage turn, or even spare you a round of the advanced glider while you continue to dig for attack cards to discard it. And Snowguard is the embodiment of versatility. She can be for you whatever your deck is missing. And each aspect has at least 1 champion ally. Blue, of course, gets the most, with Cloud9 putting aerial thwarting decks on the map, Falcon adding redding to the mix, and Patriot supporting the new archetype brought in by Ironheart's deck with Go All Out and Push Through. In red, we have the Locust, who is a must-include for any champion that wants to deal maximum damage with events, and Bombshell could be an amazingly efficient minion killer. Protection gets one of the most fascinating allies we have ever seen with Pinpoint. The ability to shuffle cards back into the deck as they leave play makes for some amazing consistency with your allies. Moon Girl again and again. Yes, please. And Wasp? Well, her ability to ignore annoying things might not always come into play, but a 2-cost, 2-thwart ally with 3 hit points could have a blank text box and I would still play it. Just look at the potential for awesome here. The Locust can add a red event back into Ms. Marvel's hand for even more recursion. Vivian and Cloud9 form the foundation for an aerial Ironheart deck that could single-handedly remove all the threat in an any player count game. Moon Girl turns every one of Nova's wild resources into a card, and Pinpoint can recycle Miles' web shooters and disposable upgrades for him. And speaking of Miles, let us not forget he is both a champion and a web warrior, so he can play a Mobile Bunker and Moon Girl alongside Peter Parker Spider-Man and Ghost Spider. That is an amazingly good deck in any aspect. So, there you have it. 4 top-tier heroes filled to the brim with excellent support options. The best team in the game, in my opinion. Like I said earlier, the Guardians are a close second, but a lot of the allies are nothing to write home about, and the power level of the heroes is somewhat inconsistent. So what do you think? Are you as excited as I am to play all of these heroes in every aspect and see if anything can stop them? Or do you think I'm crazy and they aren't even that good? Let me know in the comments, and be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this. Thanks so much for watching. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.